It happens again. You meet someone new. The setting is different. The look is different. The job is different. The way they enter your life is different. Everything about them is different. Except somewhere around month 3, you realize they're not different. They're the same. Not in any way you could have predicted, but in some way underneath, in the texture of how you feel around them, they are the same kind of person you've fallen for before. The same emotional weather, the same pull, the same kind of distance, the same kind of waiting. The names change. The faces change. The patterns don't. What's happening to you has a name. And it isn't bad luck. It isn't poor judgment. It's something far more precise. And once you can see it, you can start to do something other than live inside it. There's a phrase in psychology called repetition compulsion. The term comes from Sigmund Freud, who noticed something strange in his patients. People who had been hurt in specific ways, he observed, seemed to keep ending up in situations that recreated the original hurt. Not because they wanted to be hurt again. Not because they were unaware, but because something underneath their conscious mind kept drawing them back to the same emotional shape. Freud's original explanation was complicated and partly outdated, but the observation he made has been confirmed and reinterpreted by every generation of psychologists since. Modern attachment theory has its own version. So does trauma research. So does cognitive neuroscience. They all converge on the same basic insight. The people you keep falling for are not random. The dynamics you keep ending up in are not coincidence. There is something inside you, much older than your dating life, that is doing the choosing. And the something is choosing what it knows. Here's the mechanism, in plain terms. Your nervous system was built in your earliest relationships. The people who raised you, whoever they were, whatever they did or didn't do, taught your system what love feels like. Not what love is supposed to feel like. What love actually feels like in your specific body. If the love in your early environment was warm and steady, your system learned that warmth and steadiness equal love. When you grow up, you find people who feel warm and steady, and your nervous system registers them as romantically resonant. That's the simple case. But for most people, the early environment wasn't only warm and steady. It was something more complicated. It was love mixed with absence. Love mixed with anger. Love that came and went. Love that required performance. Love that disappeared the moment you needed it. Or love that demanded you become smaller, quieter, less. Whatever specific shape your earliest love took, your nervous system encoded that shape as the template. And here's the part that makes adult relationships so confusing. Your system doesn't experience the template as a problem. It experiences the template as the definition of love. When someone shows up in your life who doesn't match the template, your system registers them as flat, boring, lacking some quality you can't quite name. When someone shows up who does match the template, your system lights up, pays attention, calls it chemistry. The chemistry isn't lying. It's accurate. It's accurately identifying a person whose emotional shape matches the original one you learned love by. The painful part is that the shape your nervous system learned is often the shape of an unresolved wound. And the people who match it most precisely are not the people most likely to heal it. They're the people most likely to repeat it. There's a researcher whose work captures this dynamic with unusual clarity. His name is John Bowlby, the same psychiatrist who founded attachment theory. Bowlby described what he called internal working models. The mental templates each person carries about what relationships are, what love looks like, what to expect from people you depend on. These templates form in childhood. They run, mostly unconsciously, throughout adulthood. And they actively shape who you're drawn to, who you reject, and what kinds of relationships you find yourself in. Here's what this looks like in practice. A child who grew up with a parent who was loving, but constantly distracted, who handled the child's needs warmly when they could, but often couldn't, develops a template where love is intermittent, where attention is precious because it isn't reliable, where you have to work to be noticed. That child grows up, they date, and they discover again and again that they are drawn to partners who are emotionally unavailable in specific ways. Partners who are warm sometimes, distant other times. Partners who require pursuit. Partners whose love feels like something to earn. To a friend watching from the outside, the pattern is obvious. To the person inside it, each new partner feels different. The friend might say, "You're dating the same person over and over." The person might respond, "No, this one is different. Both can be right." The partner is different. The pattern is the same. This dynamic plays out in countless variations. The child raised by a critical parent who keeps finding partners who criticize them. The child raised by an angry parent who keeps finding partners with explosive tempers. The child raised by a parent who withheld affection who keeps finding partners who withhold. The child raised by a parent who was loving but inconsistent who keeps finding partners who are loving but inconsistent. It's not that these people want to be hurt. It's that what their nervous system identifies as love has a specific texture. And the texture often includes a particular kind of pain. There's another dimension to this that's worth naming. Sometimes what your system is repeating isn't your parents directly. It's the experience of being you in their presence. The familiar emotional position you used to occupy. The role you played in that early relationship. You may not be looking for someone like your mother. You may be looking for someone who makes you feel the way you felt with your mother. That's a subtler form of the pattern, and it's often the harder one to see. Because the partner doesn't necessarily look like the parent. They just produce, in your body, the same internal experience you had as a child. The hardest part of seeing this pattern is the question it raises. Why? Why would your nervous system, designed to keep you safe, keep drawing you back into experiences that hurt you? The answer is both simple and unsettling. Your nervous system isn't designed to keep you happy. It's designed to keep you in familiar territory. Familiarity, for the nervous system, equals safety, even when the familiar thing is painful. There's a line from a psychotherapist that captures this exactly. We don't repeat painful patterns because we are gluttons for punishment. We repeat them because the familiar, however painful, is the only place we feel at home. A relationship that gives you what you actually need. Steady warmth, reliable presence, calm consistency can feel at first like nothing. There's no charge, no chase, no familiar choreography. Your nervous system, which is calibrated for a different kind of love, doesn't recognize the steady version as the thing it's been looking for. So it labels it as boring, flat, lacking, and it pulls you back, sometimes without conscious permission, toward the kind of person who triggers the familiar pattern, toward the chase, toward the uncertainty, toward the pursuit that feels like love, because pursuit is what love taught you to be. This is not a moral failure. This is not a sign you don't want to be happy. This is a nervous system doing what nervous systems do. Defending the territory it knows, even when the territory is the thing slowly destroying you. Seeing this is the beginning of changing it. Not by forcing yourself to date people who feel boring, not by white-knuckling your way through chemistry that doesn't show up, but by starting to recognize, slowly, what your nervous system is mistaking for love. By learning to notice when the spark you're feeling is actually activation, when the chemistry is actually the familiar pattern recognizing itself, when the pull is your system, not your future, doing the talking. Over time, with practice, that recognition starts to redirect the choosing. Not perfectly, not immediately, but enough that you start ending up with different people, different dynamics, a different texture of love. The next time you meet someone new and they light something up in you, you'll have an additional question to ask. What is this feeling exactly? Is it recognition of someone who genuinely fits the life you want to build? Or is it recognition of someone whose emotional shape matches the original wound? Most of the time, in this niche of self-knowledge, the two feel almost identical. That's why this is hard. That's why the pattern persists for so many people for so long. The chemistry doesn't announce itself as repetition. It announces itself as love. But the more you can look at the pattern from the outside, the more you can name what your nervous system has been doing, the more the choosing starts to shift. You start to feel the familiar pull and recognize it. You start to notice the steady people who used to feel boring. You start to wonder, slowly, what calm love might feel like if you let it stay. This isn't a quick process. It's the work of years, often with help, but it begins with a single act. The act of recognizing that the people you've been drawn to weren't random, that they were chosen beneath your conscious awareness by a system trying to do its job. And that your job now is not to blame that system, but to gently teach it that something else might also be safe. The next video goes into a related territory. What's actually happening neurologically when a breakup feels like withdrawal. Why some breakups don't just hurt, but feel like a substance leaving your body. And what your brain is actually doing during those weeks. For now, just this. The people you've kept choosing weren't an accident. The pattern wasn't bad luck. It was, from the very beginning, a kind of recognition. And recognition, once you can see it, becomes something you can begin to choose differently.